welcome to the January edition of Book Talk. Welcome back! I hope you guys had a great break. This month I decided to kick the year off with a bang. And the books I'm going to talk to you about this month are my favorite genre of book. So if you don't know what the word genre means, it means a style of book. You've probably heard of science fiction or graphic novel. Those are genres. It's a type of book. So this month, I'm going to talk to you about my personal favorite genre, and it's called dystopian. And it's a type of book that's actually kind of under the science fiction heading. So if you go into a library or a bookstore, you'll actually find them in science fiction. But they're called dystopian books. And what that means is that in the books, the government, in the setting, the government has a lot of power. And society's kind of a mess because people are overly controlled and they want to rebel. And that is my favorite type of book. As a matter of fact, I hated reading until the 8th grade. I just never found a book that I liked. Honestly, I really struggled to learn how to read and didn't learn to read until 3rd grade. And so it was always just a big struggle for me. And I couldn't ever find a book that I liked. And then in 8th grade, I found a book that was being banned in lots of schools. And my mom was like, try it. And it was called The Giver. And it's still one of my favorite books to this day. And it is the book that made me fall in love with reading and showed me that there were dystopian books out there for me. And I've been loving them ever since. I can't say that every book I read is dystopian because I like to push myself and read different stuff now that I'm an adult. But I love them. They're my favorite. So we're going to talk about 4 dystopian books for middle schoolers today. This first one is called The 11th Plague. And I love this book. It was a Truman nominee book several years ago, so that means that it was read by librarians and students all over the state. That verifies it is a good book. If you see that sticker on a book right there, that means it is been read by lots and lots of people and is definitely a great book for like 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. So this one's called 11th Plague, and it actually takes place in Missouri, except it's like future Missouri, and there's been a horrible war, like World War III has just ruined everything, and most people are dead, and there's nothing left. And so our main character is kind of struggling to survive. So he and his family are kind of scavenging what's left of the United States of America. He was actually born after the giant war. So at no point in his life does he remember America being normal. And he's kind of his family's led by his grandfather, and they kind of just scavenge and walk around, no cars, no electricity, no internet. And they look for stuff to trade to stay alive. And then he loses some members of his family and ends up on his own. And he finds his way to a community of people living together kind of after the apocalypse called Settlers Landing. And seems like it's perfect. Seems like it's going to be the place for him to get a new start. But things aren't quite as they seem. So this one's just a standalone book, so it's not in a series. Just a good book about trying to survive after the apocalypse. It's called The 11th Plague. This next one I know you have probably heard of. And you may have even seen the movie. But go with me on this. The Hunger Games. This book was wildly popular 10 years ago, like crazy popular. They made it into a movie, so it is a movie. You may have seen it. But if you watch the movie and want to kind of find out more about it, because the book's better than the movie and has way more detail. But if you've watched the movie and want to know the real story, read the book. If you've never heard of it, OMG, read the book. Hunger Games is a phenomenal series. It's 3 books. And it's about a girl named Katniss. And every year, their government forces the people who live in their area, kind of like their state-ish region, they pick one child out of the area to go fight in the Hunger Games. So it would be kind of like if we took one child from the South, one from the Midwest, one from the North, and we made them all fight to the death in an arena. And whoever won became a superstar. And we all watched them live on TV fight and kill each other. Children. Yeah, so that's what they do. And you'll have to read the book to find out why. There's a reason why the government does it. So at the beginning of the book, they have the drawing for who this kid is going to be who's going to go fight. It's called the tribute. And Katniss's little sister is chosen, and she's tiny. And so Katniss volunteers to take her place. And that begins the journey of Katniss getting trained and entering the Hunger Games to try to fight to the death to stay alive. This book is amazing. I think I read it in 2 days. I finished all 3 of the books in just, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 days. It was crazy. They're amazing. So the government has too much power. It's all corrupt. There's a little bit of a love story. So if this is something you've never heard of, you have got to go give this a try. Okay, here's our next one. And you'll see this green sticker again, or this little walking dude with a stick. So this means it was a Truman Award nominee. Again, great book for 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. This one's called A Matter of Days. And this one's going to hit a little close to home. This is a standalone book again, so not in a series. And it takes place in the future where a pandemic has killed most of the Earth's population. A little creepy. This book was actually written before COVID. So anyway, so the main character, her mother dies of the pandemic, and she's like an 8th grader. She's left taking care of her little brother. And her uncle works for the government and has the vaccine, and he's been sneaking it to them. So they are actually safe from the pandemic. Her uncle was kind of guaranteeing her safety. And so she and her brother are safe, but they're alone in the world, and everyone is left just scavenging to try to find resources to survive. And she and her brother decide to head out and try to find their grandpa's kind of safe house out in the woods full of supplies so they can survive. So this is the story of her and her brother trying to make it across several states, no adults, no food, just trying to get to the safety of their family. So those are 3 of my favorite middle school dystopian books. If this is something you're interested in, feel free to chat me up about it anytime. I have read just about every dystopian book there is out there, and I can always recommend more. So stop by the library and see us this month. Thanks for joining us on the January edition of Book Talk. Remember, always be a reader.